200 products or less. Currently, it's 614 products. And here is a massive ask here for India and Pakistan. Can we actually begin work on a free trade agreement, dare I say it, between India and Pakistan? These are the only 3 non-LDCs in South Asia. 2 already have FTAs between them. India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Sri Lanka already have FTAs. From an economic point of view, can we not have an FTA? And I'm sure, we can debate this, but I'm really talking just purely from an economic point of view. Can we have an economic regime prevail even as we sort out the politics? So we can have a discussion on that. And what about the COVID? What about COVID in South Asia before and after COVID? Well, here are some thoughts. India is a major supplier of pharmaceuticals and PPE, protective equipment. Pakistan can supply medical textiles equipment. Priority recipients can include South Asian countries. Now, world trade volume, says the WTO, may decline by 13 to 32%. UNCTAD says 20%. South Asia has been hit as hard as anybody else. Can South Asian countries become better partners for each other and somewhat compensate? All earlier recommendations that I just made would be valid here. And can we have air bubbles for travel and medical tourism? Now, the 4 smaller countries which have been much less hit by COVID can actually be in a good position to dictate on this. Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, and Nepal. They can choose which cities or geographies in South Asia they would like to have such exchange with, these air bubbles. And that will kickstart activity for at least Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, and Nepal, and have this exchange of travel and medical tourism. And finally, why it matters. Why does all of this matter? Because trade, nobody can give up on trade, whatever the rhetoric you hear in the world. Trade has been important for global poverty reduction. When world poverty went down in 1990 from 1.9 billion in 1990 to 0.8 billion in 2013, trade to GDP went up from less than 40% to 60%. Women gained disproportionately from trade. Exporting firms have much more women in the workforce. They pay better, the quality of jobs is better. So in times of COVID, as in any other times, we cannot afford to neglect unused economic opportunities, where South Asia has more than, the unused opportunities are more than anywhere else. Finally, the road not taken. This road, the South Asia road, as those of us who work in South Asia know, that it's hard and long. That is how development happens. We cannot give up because people's welfare is at stake. As I said, there are strong economics between deeper regional trade. Behind the deeper regional trade, there are global headwinds, there are loss potential, there are huge costs to consumers and exporters. The small incremental steps will add up in the long run, and maybe 20 years from now, as in the famous poem by Robert Frost, people can then say, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kathuria. I won't try and summarize your presentation because it was already a very good summary of your book. But I will add that for those of you who have not yet had an opportunity to look at it, that the data that backs the conclusions that he has put out are very granular and are very vivid and very solid. And I think they put together, they make out a very solid case. And I think they bring out the irony of the fact that here is a region that is hydrologically, geographically, economically, historically, even culturally, and geopolitically one. And yet it has perhaps the least degree of integration, I think, that he graphically compared in terms of statistics with most of the other regions of the world. And the levels of regional trade, the levels of regional integration, the levels of investment, everything is far, far below potential. I would also like to flag that I think he's ended it with some very bold recommendations, particularly bold recommendations, on the India-Pakistan front, because I think he marked out the trust deficit as the single most important element, I think, hindering the process of integration. There is no doubt about it. I think there's no question about it. And also the opportunities in a way that are thrown up by the post-COVID situation. In a way, even when we talk about self-reliance, I mean, if we could think in terms of a kind of greater regional self-reliance, and this would certainly give a fillip to the South Asian regional cooperation idea. So I will save for my remaining comments for the discussions. Our next panelist is Dr. Nagesh Kumar. He's the director and head of the South and Southwest Asia office of the UNESCAP, the UNESCAP based in Delhi. Earlier served as chief economist of UNESCAP at the UNESCAP headquarters in Bangkok. And before joining UNESCAP in 2009, he served as Director General of RIS for 7 years. He also served at the faculty of the United Nations University in Maastricht, Netherlands, and directed its research program on globalization, FDI, and technology transfers. Dr. Nagesh Kumar, the webinar is yours.
Thank you, Ambassador Mukhopadhyay. It's a privilege and a pleasure to join this very distinguished group. I want to begin by thanking CPR for this very timely interaction because, as Sanjay said, the world trade is contracting by 30%. And what is better than realizing the unrealized potential of South Asia, which is sitting there, and we haven't tried to exploit that potential. And also, I want to begin by congratulating Sanjay for very comprehensive, very lucid presentation, and also welcoming you back to India. And I learned that you have just joined CPR's faculty. So welcome back, even though at this moment,